Hi, I'm Alice Hewitt, and today we're spending 5 minutes with Christopher Lawrence-Menard, play and film writer, actor, director, and president of Quarter Artistic Productions Board of Directors. So Christopher, you just won Best Actor at the American International Film Festival for your work on Planting Vines. Can you tell us how you got involved and what it was like to work on that project?
Sure. Suede Productions was the company behind Planting Vines, and they put out a casting call for local actors looking to be in a film. We were going to shoot mainly in Windsor and then like a 3-week stint in Montreal. And so I went to the initial audition. I'd been involved in theater for about 6 years at that point, and had worked on some of my own film projects. So I went to the audition. It was grueling is probably the best word for it. There was probably 5 different days that you had to go back in and read with different people and sit in sort of a waiting area with a bunch of guys that looked the same as you looked, wondering what you were doing when you got into the room. So I landed the part and worked on that film with them for about a solid 2 months.
So you've also been involved in writing your own feature films,
Right.
such as Whatever It Was.
Yeah.
What got you started on that project, and what inspired you to take it to film?
Whatever It Was actually a stage play back in 2004, and it had a great response from the audience who saw it. We packed Mackenzie Hall for about 6 performances, and there was a lot of interest on the part of the cast and people who saw the play to see something more from the characters. And I wasn't at the time interested in doing any kind of continuing story, so I thought, what's a different format that this might work in? And at the time, I had met Dylan Pierce, who is from Windsor and was a local filmmaker. He'd done a feature film called Baby Blues, and it had had some great response, good exposure. Dylan and I sat down over drinks, and literally I just sort of played out for him, here's the plot, here's the cast, the characters, here's what it would look like. And he said this could work for film. So that was inspiring to me to hear that he thought it would work up on the big screen, and that was my first sort of attempt to really work with a screenplay.
So how important do you think local film is to the Windsor and Essex County?
Incredibly important, because it brings together Windsor Essex has a lot of stage performers. They have a lot of musicians. They have visual artists who are so incredibly talented across the board. What film does that most of the other mediums don't is it brings together your visual artists who you have working on set design and construction and the look of a film. It brings together so many local actors who are amazing at what they do on stage, and that transfers very well into film. But then it also incorporates writers and technicians and a whole side of it. I feel like film is the place where it all sort of combines. So, in a theater, you've got your actors, your director, and your tech folks, and that's it, working on the show. With a film, we'd show up on set some days and there would be, 50 to 60 people, all with such important jobs that if they don't do, the film doesn't work. That was fascinating to me, just to interact with all of them and then have a project put together at the end that involved sort of the passion of so many different people. And I think in Windsor, Essex, there are so many folks who are just waiting to work on something like that.
So it's safe to say you'll be attending WIF this weekend?
Yes, absolutely. I do every year. Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
So among your talents, you're also a playwright, and your drag trilogy has just come to an end. Did you find there was a big difference between writing for film and writing for the stage?
Absolutely. When you write for a film, frequently a film is shot out of sequence. So, you write a script, it has a starting point and an end point, but on day 1, you might shoot a scene from the middle of the film, and it might not be till the final day of shooting that you're shooting scenes where characters met. So as a writer, you can really approach it from the point of view of you have to tell that story, right? You have to be really clear about where the connections are and how the whole piece works as a whole. On stage, you have to give that over to a group of actors who in a 2-hour span, same time as a film, take the audience on that journey. So the writing that you do for the stage, there's a lot more exposition that you can put in, there's a lot more detail that you can put in. Film is so visual that you have to really remove a lot of that and let, the images speak for themselves. So it's two very different types of writing. What, for me, attracts me to both types is I love dialogue. I love playing with how people speak to each other and the things that are said and not said. In film, you have a lot more of the not said, unspoken communication. On stage, it's all there. So
Perfect.
very different.
Your work is unique in that it touches upon topics that are personal in nature. What inspires you the most?
Relationships. It sounds so broad and sort of, I don't know, naive, I guess, to put it that way. But when I'm writing about who people are in relation to people around them.
Right.
And, how you can begin a relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, familial relationship, friendship, whatever it is, and be so incredibly important to one another, and then how all of life's events can pull at that or strengthen it or change it. So I'm inspired by, I guess, that interplay between people, and then how I can put that onto a stage or onto a screen in a way that says something to me personally, but is bigger and pulls the people who are watching it in. My goal is always, at the end of somebody experiencing something I've written, I want them to feel like they were somehow a part of it or impacted by it or sort of influenced, I guess.
Right. So your work has often been involved in Windsor Pride. How important is that to you?
Windsor Pride, when I wrote my first big stage play, it was called The Best Man, and I wrote the play at a time when same-sex marriage had just, been legalized. And so the connection, my play focused on a straight couple who was getting married, and the best man had a former relationship with the groom, and the bride didn't know this. Right. And it was sort of this comedy, dramedy, that was just a mess of emotions. And Windsor Pride was a great fit for me at that point to partner with an organization, give something back to the community, and really play off of my own friendships and relationships in my own life. What we were able to do through that play is we married two couples on stage at the start of the show who were from the States and weren't able to get married over there, and they came here and they got married on stage. And it was such an overwhelming moment for me to experience that I thought, going forward, if I can find a way to partner with this organization again, I'd like to do so. So it's been a really nice, we're able to support their educational outreach programs, and a lot of their folks come and see what we do and have a great time. So it's a nice balance.
Well, that's great. Thank you for joining us today, Christopher.
Thank you.
I'm Alice Hewitt, and I've just spent 5 minutes with Christopher Lawrence-Menard.